Hi, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Kelly Schlatter, and I'm a health coach and exercise physiologist for Be Well Solutions. And today we're going to be talking about practicing mindfulness. We're going to take a look at what mindfulness is, how it can help us in different situations, and how we can really work on practicing mindfulness in realistic daily areas. Just as a quick reminder, Be Well Solutions is a physician-owned and operated company that was founded in 2005. We're located in Cleveland, Ohio. And when it comes to your health and wellness, we want you to know that our focus is on you. We want you to be as healthy as you possibly can be, and we want to come alongside you and be a support and a resource in that process. So first, let's take a look at what is mindfulness. And Mayo Clinic actually defines mindfulness as a type of meditation in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling in the moment without interpretation or judgment. So, boiling it all down, it's about paying attention intentionally on purpose and being in the moment without any kind of judgment or expectation. Sometimes it helps to take a little bit of a look at what mindfulness isn't to help us really understand it. So mindfulness isn't when we're driving down the highway, not paying attention, our mind's going in a million different directions and we miss our exit. That's not mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't daydreaming during a conversation while trying to talk to somebody and it's hard to pay attention because you're thinking about different things. And by the time you get to the end of that conversation, you're thinking, man, I don't know if I know what they said. That is not mindfulness. It's not finishing a whole bag of potato chips in one sitting. I know we're all guilty of this. We grab a snack, we sit down in front of the TV, and before you know it, you're thinking, oh my goodness, it's gone, or I ate way more than I thought I was going to. Again, not mindfulness. And mindfulness isn't worrying about tomorrow's meeting or that next task that you have to do or that email that you got a few days ago. Those are more mindless things when we're not really being mindful. So, what are the benefits of really practicing mindfulness and being mindful? Well, first, it can really help us with just making healthier decisions in general. It can help us manage stress. It can help us focus better. It can help with our responses so we can actually have a well thought response instead of reacting more emotionally. And mindfulness can really help with improving our mental health as well. Studies have actually shown that mindfulness can help with our heart and cardiovascular system. It can help us cognitively, and it can help our immune system. So studies have really been done to show how mindfulness can have an impact positively on lowering our blood pressure, lowering heart rate, helping with our exercise capacity. Studies have shown that there can be an improved cognitive function for Alzheimer's patients, and it can really help with increasing attention and focus. And finally, mindfulness has been shown to help increase our immune response, helps to reduce inflammation as well. So, especially if you're thinking of not only the mental benefits of being mindful, there's so many physical benefits too. So first, I want to take a look at mindfulness and stress and how we can use mindfulness to really help manage our stress on a daily basis. I really like this quote here. Stress is not what happens to us. It's our response to what happens. And response is something that we can choose. So if we're more mindful about the response that we're taking in certain situations, it can really help to alleviate and manage the stress that we're feeling. It really does help with just that flight or fight kind of response that we have. So we can, again, have a better response instead of just reacting in the moment. It can help us understand some of our personal stressors and our triggers. It helps us really listen to our body so we know what our specific warning signs are. When we go throughout the day and we hit different kind of stressful situations, we don't always think about things happen and then we stop and say, okay, I'm starting to feel really stressed. I should probably manage this. Instead, a lot of times it presents in a way that we think, man, I'm getting really frustrated, or I'm just exhausted and I can't focus, or I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling irritated. Different things like that start to pop up, and those tend to be our warning signs for stress. So when we notice those, it's really important to pause, take a step back, and think about how you can manage the situation better. Mindfulness can also help us with focusing. We're able to complete more work efficiently. We can have a greater sense of well-being and what we're doing, and this alone can help to reduce the stress response that our body has. When we're mindful with our stress management, it can really help with improving awareness. First, it can help with becoming more aware of our thoughts. This gives us time to actually take a step back, not always take our thoughts so literally. And again, that way, sometimes the stress response isn't even initiated in the first place because you're thinking a little bit more clearly. It can help with being more aware and sensitive to the needs of our body. Sometimes we notice pains or aches or soreness a little bit earlier, and we can actually take appropriate action. And we start to be more aware of the emotions of others. As our emotional intelligence rises, usually we're less likely to get in conflict, and that can help with managing stress too. We can practice mindfulness by really looking to be compassionate towards others. Our level of care and compassion for others can really rise, and this kind of compassion can help soothe and even inhibit that stress response again, because we're changing our perspective. And that's something that can be really helpful and really important. Not only are we changing our perspective of certain situations, and maybe it's not as big of an issue as we made it to be in our head. We're starting to pay attention to other people and other things around us and other situations happening around us. But then we can also change our attitude about the stress. Rather than only seeing the negative consequences of feeling stressed, mindfulness gives us more of a space to think differently about the stressor itself. We start to observe how increased pressure can really help energize us in kind of a positive way. Basically, when we're more mindful, we don't get so focused on the obstacle that we're facing. We start to take a step back and see the bigger picture. We see more opportunity in that moment. So, mindfulness really lets you kind of expand that picture so you don't get so hyper focused on the stress or on the obstacle that you're facing. So, how do we practice mindfulness to really help us manage our stress in a healthy way? One thing that we can do is breathing exercises. Breathing exercises can really help with lowering our heart rate, lowering our blood pressure. It gives us a moment to really stop, be more present, think about that response before we have a reaction. There's a lot of different kinds of deep breathing exercises out there. And a couple of popular ones, you might have heard of 4-7-8 breathing or belly breathing. Again, lots of different types that you can choose and experiment with. In just a little bit, we're going to take a look at 4-7-8 breathing and try that together. Another thing you can practice is self-compassion. Speaking to yourself as you would to a friend who is maybe struggling or having a hard time with something, giving yourself that same kind of encouragement, persistence. I know it might sound really cliche to say, be kind to yourself. But when you think about it, when we go through stressful situations, some of the first thoughts in our mind is we just want to quit. We want to give up. It's too hard. We don't want to do that anymore. But if we had a really close friend that was going through a hard time and struggling with something, chances are we wouldn't just say to them, yeah, you're right. You should probably just quit. It's not working out for you. We wouldn't do that. We would encourage them. We would tell them to keep going, persevere through it. Try and work on consistency, not just perfection. We would encourage them with these things. And yet, we don't always show ourselves that same kind of grace. So, think about actually practicing self compassion in these situations. Work on practicing genuine connection, really being 100% present for others, especially when you're talking and communicating with them. Make eye contact, really listen to them. Don't just hear what they're saying. Maybe it's putting the phone down while you're having a conversation and really being engaged. Being able to practice having that genuine connection, again, a lot of times can help change our perspective and sometimes change things in a positive way where when you're really communicating and communicating well, sometimes that takes away some of the stress itself. And finally, again, really practicing compassion for others. Imagine you're having a day where things just aren't going well for you. Maybe you spilled your coffee in the morning, you're running late for work, you get a frustrating email. Before even lunchtime, you're just feeling exhausted and over the day. But then you get a phone call from a friend who's having a real emergency. How quickly do things change? How quickly does our state of mind change in that moment? Ask yourself that and kind of think about that. All of a sudden, you have this high energy and resilience, and you're really paying attention to what they're going through. And all of a sudden, all of those little frustrations and stressors have kind of floated away from yourself. Now, hopefully it doesn't take an emergency kind of situation to really see this and understand this. But when we practice compassion for other people, when we're practicing altruism, when we're giving service to others, these are things that can really increase just our well-being because we've all experienced how performing those little acts of kindness can change us, can change our perspective in lots of situations. So if you feel like you're really struggling through a stressful time, again, being mindful in a way where you can take a step back and try and see the whole picture and not just that one specific thing that you're feeling frustrated about, that can really alter your perspective. All right, I want to practice this 4-7-8 breathing that we talked about. And this is something that you can easily use, kind of tuck in your back pocket, keep with you when you feel like maybe just that stress is kind of building throughout the day and you need just a quick break, or times where it seems like you you just need a moment before you can respond and respond well. Deep breathing exercises can really help with that. So with 4-7-8 breathing, you're really going to focus on inhaling and count to 4, hold your breath and count to 7, and slowly exhale and count to 8. I'll pull up a graphic here that we can follow along with, and we'll do a few cycles together. All right. So we'll inhale, hold your breath here, and slowly exhale. Inhale, count to 4, hold it, and slowly exhale and count to 8. Inhale, hold it here, and slowly exhale. And we'll do one more. Breathe in, hold it here, and exhale. So as you practice that, what kind of things did you notice? Did anything come to mind? Did you maybe notice that you really weren't thinking about anything besides breathing? I know it's so crazy how we hopefully breathe all day long without thinking about it, but the moment we actually stop to think, okay, inhale and exhale, that's all you can think about. So this is such a simple, easy exercise to practice in those moments where you just need a quick break, even if just for a few seconds. You can kind of pull your head back into the present so you're not thinking about those past events or future worries, and you can be more present, and you can have a little bit more focus, and you can return to whatever you're doing with a little bit better response instead of emotionally reacting. Next, I want to take a look at mindful eating and how this is something that can really just help with not only healthy habits that we're trying to build with nutrition, um, but in general, helping us to make some healthier choices. So, first, I've got a quick question for you. Do you remember what you had for lunch 2 days ago? So often we can get caught up in our day that we eat or sometimes even skip meals without even noticing it. It's hard to make good choices with our food when we're not even paying attention to those choices, or we're just grabbing the first thing we can or grabbing something to go and just not really even taking a moment to be intentional. Mindless eating forgets to ask questions like what we're having, where we're eating, when we're eating, why we're eating, are we even hungry? When we stop to actually be more intentional with our food choices, this is where we typically make healthier choices in general. It's also easier to make healthier choices when those healthy options are more convenient. So this is where we want to think about our meal prepping, or actually having some kind of a meal plan and just knowing what we're planning on having for the day. It's things like having fruits and vegetables cut ahead of time so you can make those choices more convenient and easier instead of thinking, oh, I don't want to take the time to do that right now. So, what are some benefits of trying to eat more mindfully? Again, just like we mentioned, you tend to make healthier eating choices when you're actually intentional about what you're eating and you're paying attention to what you're eating. You're paying attention to those questions of what, where, when, why, how much. It can help with weight management because when we stop to be more intentional with our choices, one, yes, we make healthier choices, but it's also something where we can have just a healthier relationship with food. We're paying better attention and we're thinking about, am I eating because I'm actually hungry? Am I eating to fuel my day? Am I eating things that I know are going to be nutritious, things that my body needs? Or am I mindlessly eating and not really sure what I even had for the day or how much? Mindful eating can help with digestion too. We tend to eat slower when we're paying more attention to what we're having. And because of that, we usually feel fuller a little bit sooner. We're paying more attention to what we're having. We're giving our body just more time to digest. Now, I know there can be some barriers that come to mind when we think about eating and trying to eat more mindfully. So, first is definitely that mindless eating and actually trying to, remember to eat and plan to eat and think about how much. Again, this is something where making your healthy choices more convenient can go a really long way. Think about what that looks like for you. If you know certain points of your day are going to be busy, on the go, you're doing more things at the same time, and you're trying to squeeze in that meal, trying to make healthy options more convenient. Is that having fruit and veggies cut up and ready to go for the week? Is that having some healthy snack options at your desk, something that doesn't necessarily have to be refrigerated per se, but can be a nice little boost in your day without feeling like you're going for all the candy bars? Thinking about ways that you can really just make those options more convenient so you can turn to them without having to completely stop what you're doing and regroup. Eating and multitasking. I think a lot of us are guilty of this one too. We tend to maybe eat through lunch, or we're watching TV while we're eating. We're doing too many things at the same time. And while we can't always avoid the multitasking, really taking time to pay more attention to the time and even the place of your meal. These can both go a really long way. Trying to avoid skipping meals. I know when we get caught up and we're doing so many things, it can be really easy to skip meals. But when we do that, chances are we're going to overeat later because we're so hungry and we're ready to eat anything in sight. If we're more mindful about what we're having and when we're having it, it keeps it more at the forefront. So we don't skip meals and we're more mindful of not necessarily overeating later. Mindfulness is also going to be really helpful for emotional eating. And this one can be really hard because you're trying to decipher, am I actually hungry or is this something else? So when you're mindful, you take a moment before you eat or grab anything. You take a quick moment to actually ask yourself some questions. Questions like, am I actually hungry? Am I feeling bored? Am I feeling tired? Am I feeling lonely? Am I feeling upset? What exactly am I feeling in this moment? You might notice that if you really are hungry, there's a lot of different things that'll sound good. There's a lot of different things that can satisfy that hunger. But if you're noticing that you're just craving maybe one specific thing, that's when you might want to ask yourself some more of those questions. Because it's always really important to remember that real hunger can be satisfied with food. Emotional hunger can't be satisfied with food. And that is often why you find yourself eating too much or grabbing things that you wouldn't necessarily get, or again, not paying attention to the portion, the amount, the time. Again, just asking yourself some of those questions so you're not necessarily emotionally eating, but you're paying more attention to your body. And finally, practicing stopping eating when you're actually full. And this one can be a little bit tricky because it is true. It can take the stomach about 20 minutes to send that signal to the brain saying that you're actually full. And think how much food you can keep eating in a 20-minute time span. So if we're not allowing ourselves to be more mindful, to actually think about how much we're having and to slow down just a little bit to be able to listen to our body, this is where we can get in some sticky situations. Make sure that you're being mindful, stopping eating when you're full, and giving yourself just a little bit more time to listen to what your body is saying. Next, I want to look at some benefits that mindfulness can bring with physical activity and exercise. Mindfulness can help make your habit of exercise more consistent. It can help with really recognizing and celebrating your achievements along the way. And it can help lower your risk of injury, which in turn can help make your exercise just more consistent in the long run. So how can we be more mindful when it comes to exercise? There's some really good questions to ask yourself here. First, ask yourself if you have any kind of an exercise plan. Having some sort of a plan can really help you stay on track, helps you know what you're planning on doing or intentionally doing for exercise that day or week. And it gives you the time to think about what a plan B could be. If a day just does not go according to plan and you have to skip an exercise session or do something a little bit different than what you initially had planned, it gives you that moment where you can have an idea of what you're going to do instead, or when you're going to pick that exercise back up. It gives you that grace for real life that can come in and shake things up a little bit, but knowing when and how you're going to pick back up where you left off. It allows your exercise to be more consistent so you don't feel like if you missed a day or you missed a session, then you completely fallen off the wagon and you're going to have to start all over again. Ask yourself how you feel before and after exercise. Really notice how it changes your body. Do you feel less stressed? Do you feel more energized? Do you have more focus for the day? Really pay attention to what the exercise is doing for you. Ask yourself what your current exercise goals are. Think about your motivation for exercise and what you would really like to accomplish and what some of those benchmarks can be along the way. Ask yourself what kind of progressions and regressions you've noticed. This is how you can really stay in tune with your body. Know that some days are going to be easier and some days are going to be harder. That's just part of it. You can be doing the exact same exercise, and maybe this week it was super easy, and next week it could be the same exercise and it feels hard. Again, that's just part of it. But paying attention and noticing those things is important. It's going to be something where if you notice some progressions, you can celebrate that and you can feel motivated by that. But if you do notice some regressions, that can be a really important point to see where can you alter your workout. Do you need to maybe give your body more rest, or change up something that you're doing? Do an exercise a little bit differently. That way you can avoid injury, overuse, burnout. And first and foremost, when we're paying attention to these progressions or any regressions, and we're paying attention to how our body is feeling, this is usually a key that we are indeed paying attention to proper form, which is just so important with exercise. Proper form can really make or break the benefits of what you're doing. And when you're using proper form, you're being more mindful of what you're actually doing. And then finally, did you even notice your environment during exercise? This can be a huge question to ask yourself. What do you need to pay attention to? Is there traffic? What are your surroundings? Are there distractions that can come up? Being more mindful about these certainly can lower your risk for injury, but it can also help get the most out of your workout. Think about maybe if you're exercising outside, did you notice nature? Did you notice the sounds, the sights? Did you notice what was around you? How did that help inspire your workout? How did that help with managing maybe stress or making your workout feel more like me time? These are all important things that help exercise and physical activity be more beneficial for you. And finally, I want to talk about mindfulness and mindlessness and how that can be applied with injury prevention. So when we're mindless and we're not paying attention, this is where we can open ourselves up to some really unwanted injuries. When we're mindless, we can be distracted. Think about when we're driving and we're not paying attention and you miss that exit. Distracted driving can be a huge injury risk. Think about when we're just not paying attention to where we're going. Maybe we're on our phone as we're walking and we slip or we trip or we fall. And while a lot of times those can be annoying injuries, sometimes they can be pretty catastrophic too. Mindlessness can certainly lead to multitasking, where we're juggling too many things at once and we start to miss some important details. And like I said, some multitasking has a place and a purpose, but most multitasking is really just a time thief. Multitasking has been shown by studies to steal time away from quality, from accuracy, and it can even negatively impact your own mental health within that process. And finally, mindlessness can even lead to more chronic kind of stress. Our prolonged stress increases our parasympathetic nervous system, and the responses of that on a more chronic basis can lead to an increased injury risk. Think about when we're under a lot of stress and it stays chronic. There can be an increased breathing rate, elevated blood pressure, sweating, tense muscles, gastrointestinal problems, dizziness, decreased immune function, heightened sensitivity to light and sound. Constantly living with those kind of physical conditions without really the appropriate ways to cope or manage them has been directly related to impacting not only your health, but also your risk for injury. So, this is another important piece where you want to be more mindful in different areas. So, not only can you feel good, but physically you can be just improving things so you're not setting yourself up for unwanted, unnecessary injuries. Some really important ways to think about mindful injury prevention. First and foremost, just try and slow down even a little bit. Ask yourself, are you even paying attention? Maybe ask yourself, do you have what you need for whatever task it is that you're trying to complete or wherever you're trying to go? Try and limit the multitasking. This can help with focusing on details and limiting those distractions. Use your senses. Ask yourself what you see, hear, smell, taste, feel. This is something that can really help pull you out of autopilot and pay more attention to being present and in the moment. And it can help those spiraling thoughts that tend to get a little bit out of control at times. Be really aware of your body and how it feels. Anytime you're ignoring discomfort or pain or just trying to work through it, all of this can increase injury. So, paying attention to any of those things that you feel so you can take the right action in plenty of time. And finally, meditation. Meditation is simply practicing the skill of allowing thoughts to enter and exit your mind without really attaching any kind of judgment or reaction, and being able to respond wisely to things that happen instead of just reacting blindly is a skill that does require practice. So, meditation is something that helps you practice that skill and put it into motion. So, eventually, it can start to feel like that comes more naturally. So, we talked about a lot of different areas where mindfulness can really be beneficial and how we can be mindfulness specifically with those areas. But in general, how do we practice mindfulness just on a daily basis? What does that look like? Well, first, I want to say there really isn't one perfect way to practice being mindful. As you can see, there's a lot of different things that you can do, questions you can ask yourself, there's exercises that you can do, things that help you pay more attention and be intentional with your decision making. Another thing that you can utilize are meditations. And I know we talked about meditations just a little bit, but I wanted to go into detail just a little bit more here. There's many different definitions for meditation, but one used by Headspace defines meditation as a formal exercise to cultivate compassion and awareness. Meditation is essentially something that, again, it can help you be more in the moment. It helps keep you from having those thoughts that are worried about the past, worried about future events. It lets you be more present so you can, again, make better responses instead of just reactions to situations. There's a couple different kinds of meditation, guided or unguided. Guided meditation is where you typically have like a teacher or a video or something that takes you through the steps of the practice or takes you through different prompts. And in this kind of meditation, it can be really helpful if you're just beginning or if you know that you have a hard time kind of controlling your thoughts and you need a little help with some kind of a direction to take that. A lot of guided meditations follow a similar format where the teacher will kind of explain how the mind will behave during the meditation. They'll lead you through some different techniques and then suggest how to integrate that into everyday life. Now, unguided meditation, this is where a lot of times it's known as a silent meditation. You're really meditating alone without anybody explaining a process or telling you to follow along with any kind of prompts. For some people, Unguided meditation can be simply just sitting in quiet and paying attention to your body, paying attention to your thoughts for a specific period of time, paying attention to your environment. For others, it can be using some of the techniques that you've learned from guided practices. Again, there's a lot of different ways that you can practice. So if you're doing an unguided meditation, this could be where you are, just sitting in quiet. And it could be where you're maybe practicing some of those practices like deep breathing by yourself, or you're listening to some calming music, or praying, or thinking about just your senses and your environment. A lot of different things that you can practice. Again, it's all to help you be more intentional and more present. And anytime you feel like you're having a hard time reminding yourself to be more mindful, one very quick way to just kind of jog your memory and help you in that process of trying to make it come a little bit more natural, think about a stop sign and just think about stop. First, stop what you're doing for just a second. Take a deep breath. Observe. Observe how you feel. Observe what's going on around you. Observe the situation. Observe your thoughts. Think about all those things before you proceed. That's going to be what helps you make more intentional decisions in the moment. And I've got a few takeaways from today's session. As we wrap up here, if you have time at the very end, I have a quick guided meditation that I will take you through. So you're welcome to stay on and practice that with me. But to wrap up, a few takeaways from today's session. First, practicing mindfulness is something that can really help us make healthier decisions in general because we're being more intentional with what we're thinking about and what we're doing. Mindfulness helps us focus on all of the opportunities rather than hyper-focusing on the obstacles we see along the way. And anytime you're having a hard time remembering to be mindful, first, just think about that stop sign. Stop, take a deep breath, observe yourself, observe the situation, observe your environment, and then proceed. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at either of the email addresses you see on the screen. Be more than happy to get in contact with you and help with any of the questions or things that you'd like to work through. And finally, if you do have time, stick around and we'll do a quick, about 5-minute guided meditation together here. So the guided meditation we're going to do today is called a progressive muscle relaxation. Progressive muscle relaxation is an exercise that relaxes your mind and body by progressively tensing and relaxing muscle groups throughout your entire body. You'll tense each muscle group somewhat vigorously, but without straining, and then suddenly release the tension, and you can feel that muscle relax. You'll tense each muscle for about 5 seconds. If you have any pain or discomfort with any of the targeted muscle groups we go through, please feel free to just omit or skip over that step. Throughout this exercise, you might want to visualize the muscles tensing and then a wave of relaxation flowing over them as you release that tension. And it really is important that you keep breathing throughout the exercise. Try not to hold your breath at any point. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Feel free to begin by finding a comfortable position in your chair, feet flat on the floor. You're welcome to close your eyes if you want, or you can keep them open. You can watch the screen and think about the picture on the screen if you would like. Again, just find something that is comfortable and feels natural. Allow your attention to focus only on your body. If you begin to notice your mind wandering, try and bring it back to the muscle group that you're working on. Take a deep breath through your abdomen. Hold it for just a few seconds. and slowly exhale. Again, as you breathe, notice your stomach rising and your lungs filling with air. And as you exhale, imagine the tension in your body being released and just flowing out. And again, inhale and exhale. And feel your body already relaxing. Now, as you go through each step here, try to remember to keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. Let's begin. Go ahead and tighten the muscles in your forehead by raising your eyebrows as high as you can. Hold this for about 5 seconds. And then abruptly release, feeling that tension fall away. Now smile widely, feeling your mouth and your cheeks tense. Hold this for about 5 seconds. And release. Really appreciate the softness that you feel in your face. Now tighten your eye muscles by squinting your eyelids shut. Hold this for about 5 seconds. And release. Gently pull your head back as if to look at the ceiling. Hold this for about 5 seconds. And release. Feel that tension melt away. See if you can feel the weight of your relaxed head and neck kind of sinking in. Breathe in and out. Inhale and exhale as if letting go of stress. Inhale again and exhale. Now, tightly but without straining, clench your fists and hold this position until I say stop. About 5 seconds. And release. Now, flex your biceps. Feel that buildup of tension in your arms. You might even visualize that muscle tightening. And then release it and enjoy that feeling of limpness in your arms. Now tighten your triceps by extending your arms out and locking your elbows. Hold this here. And then release. Next, lift up your shoulders as if they could touch your ears and hold it here. And then quickly release. And again, feel that heaviness. Tense your upper back by pulling your shoulders back, trying to make your shoulder blades touch. Hold this here for about 5 seconds. And release it. Next, tighten your chest by taking a deep breath in. And hold that there for about 5 seconds. And exhale, blowing out all of that tension. Now, tighten the muscles in your stomach by contracting it, sucking it in. Hold it there for about 5 seconds. And release. Next, gently arch your lower back and hold it here. Then relax. Feel the limpness in your upper body, letting go of all of that tension and stress. Now, tighten your bottom underneath you. Hold it here. And release it. Imagine the looseness that you can feel in your hips now. Then tighten your thighs by pressing your knees together as if you're holding a penny between them. Hold it there for about 5 seconds and release. Next, flex your feet, pulling your toes towards you, feeling that tension in your calves. Hold this there for about 5 seconds. And relax and feel the weight of your legs sinking down. Curl your toes under your tensing feet. Hold this. And release them. Now imagine a wave of relaxation slowly spreading through your body, beginning at your head and going all the way down to your feet. And feel the weight of your relaxed body. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale and exhale. And one more big inhale. And slowly exhale as you blink your eyes and open them if they were closed. All right, so that's an example of just a quick about 5-minute guided meditation focusing on progressive muscle relaxation. So if this is something that you really enjoyed, try it again as often as you'd like, or you can always find different meditations that are more interesting or personalized for you. Thank you so much for attending today. Again, if you do have any questions from today's presentation, feel free to email us at one of the addresses on the screen. Thanks again for attending, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.